eyeliner on, y'all. I am cute. I just took the photo for the screen for the thumbnail. I was like, oh yeah. So yeah, I must always have eyeliner on deck everywhere, all the places. Um, so I just finished completing a task that I thought was like, oh no. And it kind of reminded me of a situation I was in when I was younger. And I thought I was not thought I was making a mess of my life, y'all. And it wasn't purposeful, but it was something where I just was caught off guard. And of course, it had to deal with money and bills and all this other stuff. And I was working a job. It was a good job. And I just found myself in a sticky situation. And life is like that sometimes, right? So I had I guess, a good friend who he was older. And when I mean by friend, I do mean friend, okay, y'all? Like, even though he kind of, I know he liked it me, but no, nothing happened. But anyway, he was older and he had taken me out to dinner one day, and I was telling him about the situation, not for sake of asking for anything, because that was not our relationship at all. He was offering some advice, and he had asked the question that I never even thought about at the time. I was telling him about my situation. It was financial, and I was mortified. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what is going to happen to me, kind of thing. And he was like, well, what's your plan B and C? And I was like, what do you mean? So I was young. I was like in my 20s, like, I don't know, I think I was like 26 or something. And I had never thought about plan B, C, D, E, on and on and on and on. And that really stuck with me. And he offered me, like I said, he offered me advice. Of course, he didn't give me any money. I didn't ask for any. Um, and that sat with me. That made a big impression on me. And it just made me think that in order to get things done, you gotta have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. If I, Basically what I'm saying is, how badly do you want something? So yeah, how badly do you want a problem solved? How badly do you want to achieve a goal? How badly do you want it to the point where you must plan for failure so that you can circumvent that failure? You know? So yeah, so when he asked me that question, that was like a light bulb moment for me. Plan B? Plan C? I was like, what? So yeah, it taught me a lesson. It taught me to be a scrapper, like be scrappy out here in these streets, because life is going to kick you in the booty sometimes. And you're not always going to get something easily right away. Having perseverance, having those backup plans for anything, really. And like I said, I literally just finished completing a task that plan A didn't work. Okay, so I had to think ahead. It's like playing chess. It's like, if this happens, then I need to go do this. All right, if this happens and then this happens, then this is where I need to go. So that's kind of how I think about it now, like playing a game of chess. So my first move didn't work the way I wanted it to or needed it to today, just now. But plan B did. Okay. And so had plan B not worked, then I had a plan C. That's how you get things done. Okay. Sometimes you really do have to plan for the failures in life, so that if something you're trying the first time around does not work out, then you have another course of action. So that's the thing. It's like life is full of pitfalls, you know? You're gonna not always get everything that you want the first time. Okay? But that is the question you must ask yourself. How badly do you want this thing? What will you do? So as I'm driving around now, my next task is luckily at home. uh, yeah, luckily that's where I'm heading, to my house. And I'm planning ahead for the next course of action along with my completed task, right? And people do ask me often, like, how are you? And I'm going to label all the stuff I do in order of chronological order. All right. How are you, a singer songwriter, musician, teacher of music, and of K 12, be in 3 bands? What else am I doing? Like, I don't know. I can't think of anything else. How do you do all those things? It's like sometimes you gotta plan ahead, and sometimes that's the mental game. You gotta plan for this stuff. It didn't just happen. It didn't just, you don't just walk up to you and be like, bloop, all this stuff. Sometimes you gotta do, like, leverage. That's another word I love. Leverage. Leverage life. Okay. Maybe I'll talk about that too. How can you leverage life? Not in a good, bad way, you know? And that reminds me of that TV show. Like, I remember that show. I love it. Leverage. So you've got to plan ahead. Yes. Have your plan A, but also have your plan B and your plan C and D, just in case. Then, or in incongruent with, that means at the same time, have a way of leverage. Because you can get more things done when you start learning how to leverage things. And some people use that word in a bad way. And I could just tell you just another little thing that I used to do. Like, I guess when I first started working at my my current teaching position right now, the things I were doing. So I wasn't quite in the other bands yet. So I was still doing singer-songwriter stuff, me, by myself. And this was like, I don't know, like 10 years ago. And I just gotten my teaching job that I have now, K-12. I was already teaching music on the side. Well, not even on the side. That's how I was living, right? I was working as a sub and teaching music. And I promise you, I wasn't even really looking for a permanent job. I thought that was going to be my thing. Like, I was going to be a singer, songwriter, musician, because we can make good money working as a musician. I'm going to just say. And then working as a substitute teacher, I was like, again, as a certified teacher, and you're subbing, you will always work. The only issue was with health insurance and all that other stuff. But anyway, I was already working as a sub and teaching music, like privately, and being a musician. So I had stuff, like I had money, wasn't rich, but I had a means. And so this is what happened. What had happened was how I got my not permanent, but my current teaching position right now that I am still teaching 10 years now. I was at a dinner party with some friends who knew me from my music ventures as a singer-songwriter. They had become fans and they had become friends because we kind of also had the same friends too, musicians. I started teaching their children music privately. So I would go over to their house because I was friends with them and things like that. So yeah, so they had a dinner party one day. And of course I was invited because the kids love me and the parents love me and all the stuff. And so I go to the dinner party and there is this other person there who, she was a fan apparently. I didn't know, and she was like, you're a nerd queen? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, oh, wow. And so we started talking and all this other stuff. And come to find out, she worked for the school that I currently work at now. I told her that I was an educator and I was, teaching our other friends' kids. And I eventually did teach her child too, music. But then she was saying, oh, I work at this such and such school. Maybe you should put in an application. And I was kind of like, you know, how most of us, you know, kind of just like, whatever, kind of thing. And you know, I said yes, but then I was really saying no in the background. And then, you know, some days and weeks went by, and I was still, you know, like I said, still subbing and doing that, and I was kind of fine with it. But then I was like, you know what? Maybe I can expand my schools that I go to, because I had a rotation of schools to go to. The school was a little closer, and they were actually even offering a little bit more. And I was just kind of like, you know, yeah, what's it gonna hurt? I put in my application. So I put in my application, and on recommendation of that person who later became my friend, also, and she, you know, put in a good word with the principal. And next thing you know, I'm over there subbing, and then next thing you know, I'm over there long term subbing, and that was like in the spring. And I'm trying to remember. Okay, so that dinner party was like a winter party. Yeah, the timeline was funny. Like, so it was a winter party, because I do remember, like, you know, because they are really big on holidays. So they had a holiday winter party. And so it took me a while to kind of just go ahead and do it. And so I think around March, I went ahead and submitted my, like, resume and stuff. And she passed it along to the principal. And next thing I know, I'm getting a call, because I was still subbing and teaching music and everything. And I get a call like, hey, we need a long-term sub. This and this happened to this teacher, and we need a long-term sub. And I was like, okay, cool. And so I go over there and I start teaching and subbing. And again, they see the work I do, because I'm always like, I have a good work ethic. Like, all these things come into play, right? So I have a great work ethic. They love me. And then I started thinking, I was like, maybe I can work here. And so again, I submit my resume yet again. This time around, though, the principal was kind of like, "Yeah, we're not really hiring right now." But I was like, "Okay, but just take it anyway." There you go. And I promise you, y'all, it wasn't even a week later that she came back and she was like, "Hey, yeah, we need we need a teacher next school year. You wanna?" I was like, "Yep." And that's how it happened. Okay, that's how it happened. So you always got to have your plans out there. Plan B, C, D, all the plans, right? And here I am 10 years later, loving the position I'm in. Uh Chill for the most part. Is, like I said, it's close to my house. I have to do a commute. Okay, I can still do my, like, singer songwriter thing. If anything, they kind of like geek out about that, because we've had, I don't want to give too much of my information out, but we've had rock star kids, uh, parents, like, be at our school. Like, their kids attended this school, a few of them, a few Atlanta rock stars and hip hop stars. I'm just saying. So this school is a wonderful school. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, so I'm just saying, sometimes you got to put yourself out there, have your plans in play, and keep working the plans. Okay, always have a plan, always have a way. And I hope the rest of this day is successful for me, which it will be, because I do visioning. Thanks, Michael Beckworth. So, with that, I say, take care.